But let's begin today with Bruce Lipton, to whom we spoke earlier. Bruce Lipton, lovely to have you back to talk this week more about very day-to-day things that affect every one of us, and that's our food, our vitamins, our mineral uptake, and how we can create health and therefore more alert beings on this earth, one by one, each one of us taking responsibility. Talk to me about your views on that, Bruce.
Well, there's a very important understanding about cells live in an environment. I mean, there is an environment. Cells live inside your body. And I say, well, what's the environment that cells live in? Well, being a person who grew cells in tissue culture, I had to learn about the composition of the environment.
Because you were a geneticist?
I was doing research on stem cells.
Stem cell researcher.
And I'm growing cells in a plastic dish. Well, how do you take cells out of a body and grow in a plastic dish? And the answer is you try to provide the environment that was in the body, in the plastic dish, so that the cells are at home. I said, well, what environment am I trying to create in a plastic dish? And the answer is, well, wherever the environment of the cells are. And I go, well, inside my cells are like fish. They live in an aquarium. That's why if you cut yourself open, fluid comes out, because cells live in fluids. So I make a fluid that cells live in. It's called culture medium. And I go, yeah, but what do you make culture medium, what composition is culture medium? I go, whatever organism I get the cells. If I'm growing human cells, I go to the human body, take some blood out, look at the composition of the blood, and try to make a synthetic version and put that in a plastic petri dish so the cell feels at home. If I grow mouse cells, I look at the composition of mouse blood. So the culture medium is the synthetic version of blood. I said, well, then in growing the cells, I really, try to make the best culture medium I can get, which I tell the audience. I said, first of all, number one, I don't buy my ingredients at Kmart. I buy the very best ingredients to make the most wholesome blood equivalent in the body, because this is the vitality of cells. It's the environment they live in. If you live in the world and put all kinds of toxic things into your system, industrial farm produce with all the toxins that they spray on these things. Yes, I'm eating food, I'm also eating all the toxins with it. The amount of sugars that we have in our system, it's completely an abnormal understanding in the body to have that much sugar. Until we did farming as an agriculture, as an industry, there wasn't really any sugar for people to eat. I mean, fruit, which is nature's sugar, but that was only a short period of time, and you could eat that fruit real quickly because it's not going to be there very shortly anyway. Then we buy all this sugar, and then we start to find out this is completely abnormal. But if you start putting it in your body, your body gets, remember, everything is in harmony, balance, ecosystem. It's all in balance, inside and outside. If I throw the inside out of balance, then my cells are not living in harmony. Cells in harmony, by definition, are cells in health. Cells in disharmony are the precursors of disease. So the first thing is this: what am I creating as an environment for my cells? Meaning, what am I putting in this system? Well, there's food, nutrition, and elements like that. And I say, well, good. Now look at what's out there and what's available, and I can tell you some of these things are really good because they're grown organically and in a natural way. Some of these things are not good at all. Chemicals added, additives of all kinds, sugar added beyond belief.
Can I just pick you up there? If you put those sorts of things into a petri dish, preservatives and some chemicals from the vegetables and maybe a bit of sugar, how would that cell
You would
look?
have dead cells. Simple as that. I wouldn't even argue. I just tell you right now, you start putting those elements into the culture medium, you're going to stunt the growth of cells and they'll actually begin to die.
And that's what millions of humans are doing every day with the foods they eat every day.
Billions.
John, that's a huge part of your practice.
Well, this is why we test. One of the first things we do is test people. And we're using epigenetic testing equipment these days, Bruce, from the hair follicle to itemise which foods people are reacting to, which vitamins and stuff like that. And we're giving a food prescription to take away with that. We're also giving them advice on the EMFs and various toxins.
Yeah, that's a non-physical element as well. That's very important. So it's really important because what you're doing is saying, I want you to create the best culture environment for the 50 trillion cells in your body, and therefore your culture medium has components, things that you need to boost to make the culture medium complete, and things you need to remove because they're altering it. So this is specifying a recipe to create the most healthy environment for cells.
Exactly. based on epigenetic science and forensic testing. Then we can put our energy into helping people manage their cultural and social environment, their thoughts, their emotions, relationships and things like that. So we've isolated that aspect of down to a very specific way of dealing with the situation quickly and inexpensively, and we then start to treat the soul, the mind, the emotions of the person. And because many people come into my room, Bruce, and they're in tears in the first 15 minutes.
Why is that, John? Because they're
suffering.
The imbalances in the
because
body.
they're suffering. So they want help with their nutrition and things like that, of course, that's natural. But deep down they're suffering, they're hurting, and the fatigue's wearing them down, and the job they're doing that they don't like. So again, having dealt with the vitamins and minerals very quickly, we can then move on to the other aspects of the pain they're dealing with, or the fear that Bruce raised earlier on.
So Bruce, would you say it's very hard to be a happy human being in an unhealthy body? Is it as fundamental
Oh,
as that?
absolutely, because your cells there's feedback. You know, okay, I'm sending information to my cells about the world in which I live, so they can adjust their biology to allow me to survive in the world in which I live. The cells send information back to the body, and they're trying to say if you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong. They are telling you. These are called symptoms. Now, a very interesting aspect about symptoms is, unfortunately, conventional science, the one I was teaching in medical school, was a patient comes in, they got a symptom, and you say, oh, well, let me help you eliminate the symptom. And I say, well, there's your problem. Because the symptom is generally not the problem. The symptom is the cause of a problem. The symptom is like on the dashboard of your car, a little engine, service engine light comes on, a little red light, says service engine. It's a symptom. Something's wrong with your car. Does that mean, change the light bulb? No, that's the symptom telling you. If you deal with the light bulb and shut off the light bulb, put a masking tape over service engine, now you say, oh, I'm healthy again. Look, no service engine light. I go, that's really cool, except for the fact that was not the problem. So when we have issues in our biology and we get a symptom, canceling the symptom, I have pain. Oh, take a pain pill. It's like, no, you have pain for a reason. and it's the body talking to you about not using this part at this time because it's damaged. And yet we say, well, it's interfering with me, so I'll take a pain pill and then I won't notice it. And I say, now what are you doing? Damaging it worse.
But Bruce, this requires taking responsibility. It requires listening to our bodies. You can't ask this. This is the key, isn't it?
Because
we have to grow up. We have to be mature about how we
program people not to be responsible.
Yes.
And so their daily life is an understanding of, I'm not responsible for these things. I'm a victim of circumstances of the environment. I'm a victim of the genes that I got, but I didn't pick them, so I have no responsibility there either. And therefore, when we do that, what are we doing? You want to know the simple bottom line is, when you tell a person they're a victim, you're telling them they're powerless. And when they're powerless, then whatever I do is irrelevant. Oh, well then what I do is not, I can do anything.
So
Why?
I can be irresponsible. And a lot of this is dealt with in this wonderful book, Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future. But we will be talking to you again next week. Thank you, Bruce Lipton.
Thank you. Thank you, John.